The crowd I was with tonight felt like that opening scene of Scream 2. Not with all the masks and the throwing of popcorn and being very disruptive. No, it wasn't that hectic, but man oh man, this crowd was a Scream fandom and I loved it. Scream, aka Scream 5, stars Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Neve Campbell, Courteney Cox, and David Arquette, and it's about 25 years after the original series of murders in Woodsboro. A new Ghostface emerges, and Sidney Prescott must return to uncover the truth. I remember the day when Wes Craven passed away. One of the kings of horror passed away, and it was a really sad day. The guy made a Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, two of the biggest franchises in the horror genre ever. And growing up, just like many other people, that first Scream movie is a masterpiece. It's honestly, if you honestly think about it, for me, top 15 favorite movie of all time, it's in there because Scream is really important to me loving the horror genre. And when I heard Radio Silence was doing a fifth movie, I got nervous because no Wes Craven, obviously he's gone, rest in peace, but man oh man, another Scream movie, but they brought in the cast, and I did like Ready or Not, so I went in very excited. And of course, starting with my positives is the directors themselves. Radio Silence used to be YouTubers, guys. They were just like all of us, if you're a YouTuber out there. They made YouTube videos, and now they're making a Scream movie, so congrats to them on that point. But listen, they did a great job. They brought 2022 Scream and brought it into this whole new universe of the franchise. Because those first four movies always are making fun of horror movies. They're always mocking them, being very meta, like the first one. Those other four movies are really funny if you actually go back and watch them. And with this movie, not as funny as those movies, but this movie is very meta on 2022 horror movies, making jokes of like Hereditary, It Follows, The Babadook, and I loved hearing those things. And of course, getting all these reboots of like Halloween and then like Star Wars, they make references in this movie, and this movie is very meta in that 22 range. Now, we do have returning cast members Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott, who I love and I do think is the Scream queen of all of them, but in this movie, she's not in the movie as much as you probably want her to be. When she's in it, she's a badass and you love her, but she's definitely not like the focal point in this movie. This movie more leans towards the new cast members, and I liked all of them, honestly. None of them were like standouts, like, oh my god, they are amazing kind of deal, but all these new cast members are really enjoyable and entertaining for this slasher movie because, again, it's 2022, the movie's making references to a bunch of like newer movies, and this cast felt right. Some of the performances were a little clunky at a few characters. Some of the dialogue was a little too meta and too much like, because some of these characters talk like me, which is totally fine. That's realistic. I will say in 2022, people talk like me. All these movie references and how the rules have changed and requels and all that kind of stuff. I loved all that, but sometimes the movie was a little bit too meta, especially in that third act, which gets very meta and clunky and a lot of stuff's happening. So that's probably like my biggest issue is that third act and just being all the big meta stuff. But honestly, guys, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. The new cast members are really enjoyable, but the old cast is where it's at. These three actors are great. I love seeing Sidney Prescott. Neve Campbell is a badass. Courteney Cox as Gale Weathers, you love to see it. And then, honestly, David Arquette as Dewey is honestly the main focal point throughout the movie, being the old cast. And he's awesome. You love Dewey, and they do bring back his song, his original music, which they did use in this movie. I love seeing the references to the old movies because in this universe, the stab movies are the Scream movies, so seeing that in this movie mixed with all the new horror, that is really awesome to see. Like I said, though, it gets a little too meta towards the end in a lot of certain scenes, but like this movie knew what it was and it was having fun in that way. Of course, no spoilers, but like I said, this third act gets a little clunky and all this meta stuff and the reveal of the killer and obviously the influences of the killer. Again, no spoilers whatsoever, but I will say the influence of the killer doing this now, I'm not in love with, but I did like it, if that makes any sense. But if you go see it and you enjoy the influence of why the killer's doing this now, then go right ahead. This movie is super fun. It is a 2022 Scream that I had fun with. It's not my favorite sequel, I will say that for sure, but it's a really good time. I'm gonna give Scream 5 a B. Now, when I mean big horror fanatics like me, there is one tiny 10-second cameo of a certain person or persons that I see in this movie. If you're a true horror fanatic, you're going to smile so big because I did so hard. There's one little scene and it made me very happy because it just says these directors are YouTubers for sure. If you go see this movie, you know what I'm talking about, then you are a true horror fanatic. Anyway, guys, enjoy this review and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.